Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to just start with our intro as people are still filtering in at a steady stream, but we'll get started. Hi, I'm Lori Gardner. I am the president of Les Dames d'Escoffier, DC Regional Chapter, and I welcome you. I'm really glad that you all have joined us this evening for this exciting panel on social media best practices. Just a couple of words. Anina Bell's going to do the introduction of the panel and the panelists and tell you all about the program. I'm just going to start by saying a few words about Les Dames and also our upcoming symposium that I want to tell you about. So, we are a vibrant community of women leaders in food, beverage, hospitality, and related industries in the DC area. We are a nonprofit. Uh, our programs, uh, we have education programs. We raise money for grants and scholarships to fund women in the culinary fields and nonprofit organizations that support women and children. And we also have education programs as part of our mission, like the one that you are on tonight. So we thank Anina Bell and her education committee for putting this particular program on this evening. We are working really hard and are very excited. I just want to take a minute to talk about our March 8th symposium coming up, bringing it to the table. We do this every other year. It's a big all day program where we tap into the expertise of our members and other women leaders in the community. Some of the topics that will be on the agenda this year, I'm just going to read this. The low and no alcohol beverage movement, fostering an inclusive workforce, gut health, perfecting bread making at home, and a panel on how women are changing all things food in the DMV. Also, lots of time built in for interaction with speakers, with other members, with each other. So, as a registrant for this evening, you're now on our mailing list. You will be getting details about this. We have early bird rate discounts for the public through February 12th available. If you have any questions, feel free to put anything in the chat. But this is, we're going to have the details about the program available hopefully later this week. And again, you will be hearing from us. We really hope to see you there. This was a big success in 2023. In fact, two of our panelists were panelists back in 2023. And so we hope to see you there. It's going to be great. And I'm going to turn it over to Anina Bell.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you here this evening to talk all things social media and specifically Instagram, how to grow, how to maintain, how to really find joy in what you're doing on Instagram and that it may serve your life as well. So I want to thank very deeply Meryl and Brittany for being here with me this evening and sharing their personal views and their stories about their experiences with Instagram. We will go into the agenda, but I would like for each of us to present ourselves first. So if you want to kick us off, Meryl.
Thank you so much, Anina Bell. I'm so happy to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is Meryl. I now run a platform called Pasta Social Club, which is about bringing people together over a love of pasta. I actually did not get my start in the food industry. I worked in the art world for many years before I went to culinary school in 2018 and totally switched career paths. After culinary school, I worked at a couple of pasta-focused restaurants in New York City, all the while starting my Pasta Social Club Instagram account, which has grown steadily since. Because of Instagram, I actually hosted a supper club in Brooklyn before the pandemic. During the pandemic, that shifted into a lot of virtual pasta making classes, which I still do, in addition to in-person pasta workshops and hopefully more supper club dinners in the DC area soon. And I've also branched off into recipe development. I write a weekly Substack newsletter, and I wrote a cookbook called Pasta Every Day, which came out in 2023, and also won a James Beard Award last year. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Meryl. Brittany.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Brown Chamberlain, and I am the face behind the blog Brittany Breaks Bread. It's a blog that shares sweet and savory family meals with a strong emphasis on baking and decadent desserts. Like Meryl, I was not always a social media influencer. I actually started as a cancer researcher who loved to cook and was fortunate enough to turn my blog into a career. I began my Instagram back in October 2019 before there were reels and channels, and you needed 10,000 followers to get the swipe up on your stories. It was a time. But since then, I have worked with several reputable brands and have been featured in magazines, been on the news, and in November of 2024, I actually released my first cookbook called Bake Until Golden Brown. I hope that today I can provide you with useful tips and tricks that have helped me over the years to grow my social media presence and also have fun while doing it.
And you're a mom of two.
Yes, yes, two little rugrats.
And I'm Anina Baljanini. I am a 20-year career hospitality veteran. I worked as a director of sales and marketing for Ritz-Carlton for 4 seasons in 4 different countries, Monaco, France, Canada, and DC. I started my Instagram, Le Chef's Wife, after a flash of inspiration in 2016, while I was director of sales and marketing of the Ritz-Carlton Montreal, and kind of plugged away at it very slowly and steadily. I'm very grateful to Instagram because it allowed me to imagine a world where I went out on my own. And that's exactly what I did last March. I left my full-time job to become a full-time entrepreneur. And so I have the blog, Le Chef's Wife, which has become a leading reference for French cooking. I also started a PR and marketing company called Savoir Faire, where I do PR, marketing, branding, taking my career insights and my love of Instagram and blogging and to be able to help clients. And then also I have a venture with 3 other women called Next Chapter, where we help women to envision the next chapter of their lives when they can move on from doing what they could or what they should to what they could. So mentoring women, especially in food and beverage, is a very big passion of mine. And I have 2 beautiful children, Valentina, who's 7 years old, and Pierre, who is 4 years old. And I'm married to a French chef, Sébastien Giannini of L'Avant-Garde, hence the name Le Chef's Wife, because I share insights of what it's like to cook with a professional chef for 20 years. So that's us. This evening, we have a presentation prepared for you, really of the basics. We are assuming that everyone in the room, we're all at the same level of knowledge, and because things are changing every moment. And so if you've been very active on Instagram in the past year, you know it's very different than what it was even 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So we're going to go through today's agenda. We have slides prepared for all of these topics, but then also what's really important is going to be, there's going to be questions for the panel where Meryl and Brittany and I will each have an opportunity to share our insights on the same questions. And then there will be a time for Q&A. So our presentation in total should be an hour today, and then we're leaving a half hour for Q&A if you have enough questions to fill up a half hour. So here we go. Brittany, do you want to take it away?
Sure. So your Instagram profile is essentially your brand. When people come to your Instagram profile, it should be representative of everything that you want them to know about you. If you're selling a product, if you are a baker or have a bakery, where to find you. You want them to be able to readily get all of this information at your fingertips. And so for me, I'm a blogger. I have where you can reach me, my email, where you can purchase my cookbook. And if you click on that link where it says Hoffman Media Store, you can also find the recipes on my website. So this is basically your face. When they come to your Instagram profile, you want them to have all of the information that you feel is necessary to get to know you as a brand, as a person. And then, of course, if you click into stories and things like that, I feel like you leave your stories to something a bit more personal to let them into your life, kind of to increase engagement. And just to let people know that, hey, I'm a human being behind this brand. But as far as content, when people are scrolling and they just discovered Brittany Breaks Bread or The Chef's Wife or Pasta Social Club, it should be representative of everything that you want them to consume.
And I think there's a couple few things that are important to note as well, is that it used to be trendy where you would say, I'm a dog mom and I love Sancerre and, you know, Sardinia is my favorite travel destination. You don't see that as much on bios because it's really the most important thing. We want people to want to follow you. Hence, that's your storefront. And so we try to be specific and bring in call to actions in the profile. And also, you notice that we all have our photos as our kind of our icons. Instead of where it used to be, people would choose an abstract photo to kind of show their personality. Now it's really important that you show your own face.
Yeah.
And maybe the only time you see Meryl's face on her Instagram.
Yeah, I'm a little camera shy, and my headshot doesn't even have me looking at the camera, much to everyone's annoyance. But there is one photo, my lead pinned photo on my profile that is of me. So people know there is a human behind my account.
And that is something important to note as well as the pinned profiles. Use those very wisely. On my profile, I chose 3 pins or 3 reels that I really wanted to show as an introduction. If someone's landing on my profile for the very first time, this is what they need to know about me. And that's what I pinned. And Brittany, looks like you did the same thing too.
Yeah, quite a few things because it also used to be pretty good. A lot of people would miss stories, but I think even just last year when I would cook in my stories, and after 24 hours it expires, and sometimes people want to reference that content. They say, "Oh, Brittany cooks every day in her stories," so I would save me cooking in that area over there. I don't think it's used as much now, but it is a fun reference to have.
You want to do this one too, Brittany?
Sure, I'd love to. So I think that there's a common misconception that photography is dead on Instagram, and I don't think that's particularly true. I think it's good to have a mix of both photography and video. I personally am still getting pretty good engagement on my photos, but it is not the sole thing that I post anymore. I like to have a mix of both video and photography as well. But of note, I think it's very important that if you are posting photos, that you make sure that your photos are aesthetically pleasing and that the photos reflect your unique personal style because you figure there are, you know, say if I follow 3,000 people and then I'm only seeing probably about maybe 200 of those followers, unless I'm specifically going to an influencer's profile. And so a lot of times when I post photography or in any sort of content, but specifically photography, I like to ask myself, is this something that would make me stop in my tracks and engage with it? Because, photos are not prioritized anymore. But I did want to make the distinction that photography is not dead. I would say make sure if you are using photos that you edit them in your personal style, whether you're using your phone or whether it be a DSLR or mirrorless camera, just make sure that they're clear and aesthetically pleasing. Your audience is following you for a reason. They want to see you. They want to see the types of content that you are going to post. So I think if you have a photo that you really love and you don't have any content or any video content that day, I think it is more than fine to post a photo. For reels and videos, I think everybody wants to know all about this. The number one tip, and I actually just heard this a couple days ago, is that the majority of people who scroll on Instagram are actually not scrolling with the sound on. So I know we go through all the hard work of finding trending audio and things that are catchy and quick. But the majority of people aren't hearing it. So they said if you are scrolling or if you're posting content that has, something that you actually want people to hear, or just if you want people to engage with your content in general, make sure that you have captions on your video. And that was just such a light bulb moment for me because it makes perfect sense. If I am scrolling and nobody else has, and my sound is off and no one else has captions, I'm probably not going to think to stop and say, "Oh, what's this about?" and then turn my sound on, then turn it back off and keep scrolling. But if the captions are on, I'm going to stop and read and say, "Okay, what's this? What's this about?" And then I'm going to probably read the caption, and it's just going to be something for me to stop, look, and consume. That would set me apart from the thousands of other pictures and reels and things of that nature that I'm going to see on my timeline. Um, I will say the value and of the content lies in itself. In my own research, I've noticed that sometimes longer videos can perform better than shorter videos. It just depends on what you're actually posting. Um, I actually went viral last year off of a 4-second video of me picking up a beignet stuffed with Nutella and me ripping it open, and that was it. It was 4 seconds long, and that reel has over, I want to say, 18.5 million views now. Conversely, I have friends who have posted minute to 2 minute long videos and have also gone viral off of that. I think that it just matters what you're posting. Is it something that will resonate with your audience? And is it something that's going to kind of have some sort of call to action, whether it's commenting or if it's just, I won't say shock worthy for lack of a better word, shock worthy. Um, a lot of the longer content has like a hook at first when say for instance I'm baking a cake and the first 2 seconds is me cutting it open and or slabbing a bunch of glaze on top and cutting it open and taking a bite, and that's going to automatic that type of hook is going to automatically engage a reader or a follower, if you will.
Yeah.
uh,
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just I just wanted to get to that point, which is that I think it's about something that looks appetizing. Like when you're scrolling, what catches your eye for food content? It's what you want to eat is probably what's going to do well. I think in the past, aesthetically pleasing kind of implied like stylized, but you don't need to have like a beautiful food styled photo shoot for a good image on Instagram. I only use my iPhone. You just want to make it look appetizing and kind of jump out at people. Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. We're all here to, to share our own personal insights. Um, but I also think another crucial aspect of posting video is the loop. When you're watching a video and you don't realize that it's over and it's started again, each time that replays, it's somewhat pleasing the algorithm. So if I think that was the trick with my Nutella beignets, when after I pulled it apart, you didn't know whether it started from the beginning or if it was just continuing on to one long video. So I think that that's critical for growth. Especially the more plays it gets, the more the algorithm's going to push your content, and then more people will see it and prayerfully follow. As far as consistency is concerned, I'm not sure if you all have been getting the ads, but been getting tons of them, and I don't know if it's because I'm a blogger or, the type of content that I'm consuming, but there's the ads that say, if you want to grow on Instagram, simply posting every day is not sufficient, and I completely agree. However, I think it's most important to post engaging content, as opposed to just posting to fill a quota. So if you're only posting 3 times a week, but your content checks all of the boxes, I think that that's ample. But
How many
also
times do you post, Brittany?
about 3 to 5 times a week.
Okay.
Um, and also it's okay to recycle content. You can chop it up and repackage it into, the same content a million different ways. It can be long form, it can be short form, it can be those choppy videos where it's, I think we've all seen where you're dicing up something and you're throwing it into a pan and you're putting it on a piece of bread and eating it. And, there's so many different ways that you can use the same content.
Mhm.
But back to consistency, um, I just think it's important to post something that's going to engage your readers as opposed to just posting to say, oh, it's 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. Let me post something. Because then, perhaps that's not going to be the most engaging. So, yeah.
And I think that also it's very important to just post, because often we get in our head and we think, oh, it has to be perfect and it's got to look a certain way. The most successful videos that I've posted, often very annoyingly, are the ones that I think look like crap, honestly. They're not in great lighting. I did a hazelnut brittle over the holidays and I filmed it. It was 8 o'clock at night. It was dark outside. There was not a lot of not my signature bright light and airy views of my kitchen, and it went completely viral. So sometimes just getting the content up there is really good, because then you get out of your own way.
And Instagram isn't favoring polished content anymore anyway. So yeah, don't get in your head about whether it's perfect. And also when you're starting out, the best part is nobody's looking at you. No one cares. So just do it and see what happens.
That is a very important thing, is make sure you're not posting for your family and friends. Your family and friends are not your audience. If you care what they are thinking about what you're posting, then you're going to the wrong audience, because they know you too well. They're not the ones who are going to be engaging the most with your content. It's really just putting the content out there, kind of putting blinders on. Some people block their family and friends, quite honestly, to get it, get that out of the way. But just put your blinders on and know your creative expression, what you want to share, and continue to share it, and you will find your people, because your people are out there. And that's what's the incredible thing about Instagram. No one gave us permission to do what we're doing. We just started doing it and then created our communities. And so, yeah, I encourage you to do the same. I think we already touched a lot of these elements. Aim for 3 to 5 posts per week. Consistency is key with Instagram. You definitely want to show consistency. You don't want to, post every single day for 3 weeks and then take 3 weeks off because you're exhausted, and then go back and be posting every single day. Try to find a consistency. It's like any kind of regimen. Post when your audience is most active. That is less important than it used to be from what I'm seeing. Again, I think the major takeaway is just post. Just post, even if you don't think it's perfect, even if it's 10 o'clock at night and it's right before you go to bed. However, stories are very important, because you work on that perfectly crafted reel or the carousel post or the post, but stories is really where people get to know you. So I personally choose to engage with, show my kind of behind the scenes on my stories, what I'm doing with my family, what we're up to in the day, whereas the posts are usually about a food element and French cooking for me. Hashtags are still important, but also keywords. So using SEO keywords, search engine optimization, works on Instagram as well. If you type in baguette, people that are looking for baguettes will find you. And then I think this is a really great takeaway, is not forgetting that social media is social, and finding a way to build your community. And just like Meryl, she created her pasta making classes. And that was such an incredible community building activity that grew her to success. For me, it was the Soup Sunday Challenge that I started in 2021. And I already had a lot of soup recipes on my blog. I put them into a PDF, and I put it in the link in bio, where you could sign up for my newsletter and receive 10 free soup recipes. And I invited people to join me for live cooking on Sundays. And so I still do it. My last live cooking was on Sunday. And I went live on Instagram and cooked a soup recipe. And it's incredible seeing how the audience builds around it. And then people were also posting their soup recipes with the hashtag Soup Sunday Challenge. So think of how you could build a community, because Instagram is not about you. It's really about what you can do for them. And if you're in the food space, you have a specific niche. You have something that you can offer. And so really tapping into what that is and being able to share it. Use polls, quizzes, and questions and stories. Use all the apps that Instagram provides to you, because they're there for a reason. And the algorithm favors if you're using the tools that Instagram provides to you. Collaborate with others, partner with other food bloggers or food influencers and brands for giveaways and shout outs. This has worked very well as well. When I went from 5,000 followers to, I think, almost 10,000 followers was because I did a partnership with an influencer based out of California who I'd been following for years. We've kind of built up a friendship over Instagram, and she let me do an Instagram takeover on her feed, and it really introduced her market to mine. And it was one of the steps of growth. Now we'll talk about it later, but there's lots of steps of growth, and it's really, you'll go up a big step and then you'll plateau for a long time, and then you'll go up another big step and you'll plateau. Guest post or share recipes on each other's platforms. That's really important too. Start with your friends and then reach out further. Reach out to people that are doing something similar to what you're doing, that you both have followings that could be interested in each other. And engage in Instagram lives with people that are complementary to you. So that's as simple as telling someone, okay, let's do a chat in our kitchen and go live on Instagram and just talk like we're doing right now. It does not have to be a big production. If you're not using the Instagram Insights, definitely encourage you to do so. You can get a lot of information about who your market is, who they are, when they're looking at Instagram, what they're interested in. Go through the ads, like go through the process of setting up an ad in Instagram to see how they define markets, because that's really interesting and you can learn a lot there. And always make sure you're keeping an eye on the insights to see what content is resonating with your audience, because it could be, the last year 4-second reels were super trendy. Now it's more into longer form content, and it's constantly evolving. So keep an eye on the insights and really continue to publish content that is working for you with your audience. Brittany, you want to take that one?
Sure. So the trends, it's quite easy to identify trends. Um, so there's a couple ways you can do it. You can simply go to your explore page and see if there's anything that you're seeing repetitively. I think last year it was like the chocolate Dubai bar. Several people were doing that. That's a way to just simply say, okay, that's something that's clearly trending. I've seen 5 people posting it. Maybe I should hop onto it, because the trends are likely, if other people are going viral for it, it's highly likely that, well, I won't say highly likely, but it is a potential that you could too go viral. Um, in another way, and this is kind of my cheat code, I know this is all about Instagram, but I do promise that these two parlay or they intersect with each other. I think almost everybody has a Pinterest. And there's a tiny quick trick that I use. Pinterest, if you have a business account, they have a Pinterest trends page in your business account, and you click on it and it gives you over 20 to 30 ideas as to where things are trending right now. And you can implement those things into Instagram, because the good thing about Pinterest is that they're planners. Instagram is more like today, like right now. And so I like to use these, like for instance, for example, now Pinterest is telling you what's going to be trending during Easter. So I can use that to plan out my Easter content and post it in real time. So I hope that that's helpful, but that is such a good way to stay on top of trends. It also, you can use Google too. Chat GPT is a really great way to ask what's trending on Instagram. That's extremely helpful, just to stay on top of everything. And for staying authentic, I think it's critical, because I think that curated life is dead. And people want to see, you waking up, and I won't say your hair's all over your head, but they want to see what's real. You Very often I'm so clumsy. Very often I will be baking something and I'll drop the butter on the floor and it'll splat everywhere. And I'm like, guys, do you see this? This is so annoying. I can't believe this happened. Like, people like to see that because it's relatable. And those are the types of content that will keep the real people in. I think there's like a very short window after someone follows you where Instagram will actually show you, like, prioritize your content to them. And so when that begins to dissipate a little bit, they might say, "Oh my gosh, I wonder how she's doing." And then they react with your content, and that's how you kind of stay relevant in people's minds. So it's so important to be authentic. It's so important to be yourself because um in a world where everything's kind of curated and perfect, it's not relatable. So be yourself. It's the best thing you can do.
I do want to note on trending audio, just so that everyone knows how to find trending audio. When you're in the reels and you're creating a reel and it says add music, look for music that has the little arrow going up. And you want to look for as few uses as possible for the music. So you don't want to choose a trending audio that has 500,000 uses because your content will get way to the bottom. But if you choose one that has a few hundred or a few thousand, you have a higher chance of being found if that audio continues to trend and people are looking at reels that have used that audio. So make
It's
sure
the
you're
same.
using trending audio now.
It's the same in posts now. You can do audio in posts. So you can choose your music and choose the trending music, which I've recently discovered.
It was very hard for me because at first I was only using French music and I was
I
using Piaf and Charles Aznavour, and I was so excited about the music I was using, but no one was looking for Charles Aznavour on Instagram. So change that. Tools to use. So Canva, if you're not using Canva, highly recommend using Canva for any graphics. They're beautiful graphics, Instagram stories. To be honest, I don't use it all that much. I employ someone to make graphics for me because I never get around to it. So I use them for carousel posts and also for Instagram stories sometimes. Lightroom is great for photo editing. Also, the Instagram app, you can edit the photos as well. And you can schedule your content as well. If you wanted to schedule your content like I do for my clients with Savoir Faire, I use a tool, I use Sprout Social. You can also use Tailwind, Planoly, and Later for scheduling posts. So if you're into batch making your content, you can create a whole month's worth of content in an afternoon by scheduling it, and then you don't have to worry about it as much. InShot is great for editing reels and videos. I use that. CapCut, of course, is a leading tool, but of course, with everything that happened with TikTok as well, it was down for a little while as well. It's now back up, but to be determined. And very soon, Instagram is going to be launching Edits, which is their response to CapCut and to InShot. And it is preferable to use Instagram tools because the algorithm favors Instagram's tools. So now we're going to move to the questions for the panel. We've created 10 questions that we are going to each respond to. And then there will also be time for Q&A as well. So we'll have Q&A after we've gone through our panel questions, which hopefully will also meet some of your questions. So Meryl, I'll start with you. Tell us about your journey on Instagram to where you are now, and include numbers, where you are now, where you started from. When did you start your account and what were your periods of growth?
So I thought I might have been the first of us to get on the Instagram like business bandwagon, but you've been around far longer than I have. I started the Pasta Social Club Instagram account late 2018. I had just graduated from culinary school and I was working at a restaurant in New York. And on my days off, I wanted to teach myself how to make more pasta shapes and kind of play around. So I kind of used the platform to sort of show people what I was up to, but also I had the idea for my business as sort of like a supper club, more like community focused business long before I started to do those things. So I kind of used Instagram to plan ahead, to like build that brand while I was doing other things. So by the time I left restaurant work, I guess I started maybe with one follower, which was myself. But I had about 4,000 or 5,000 followers by the following spring, I left my restaurant job and started my supper club. But my follower count on Instagram really helped me build relationships with other companies and other partners to bring my supper club vision to life. So I kind of saw Instagram as a way to build community, but also to kind of like build a presence in advance of sort of launching a different business idea. Because I just wouldn't consider myself a traditional blogger. That wasn't really the goal. But I did like the idea of like writing about pasta or like my thoughts on what I was doing or like short form recipes. So instead of like committing myself to a long form blog, I was like, look, if I do this on Instagram, I feel like it was a little bit easier for me to keep up with it. Sadly, things have changed. I think not sadly, but things are just very different now. The things that helped me grow when I was starting out, I don't think exist anymore. Obviously, that was long before video and reels were really popular. One of the things that really helped my early growth was larger food platforms reposting my content. So when I first started out, you could do like for Food 52, you could like do hashtag Food 52 or whatever, and they would see, you know, your post and then they'd repost it to their like 3 million followers, and then you'd get a whole bunch of followers and engagement. So I got really lucky and had a lot of that happening early on. But I would say the most significant or the fastest point of growth for me was during the pandemic. As you can imagine, pasta was one of the many like stay-at-home cooking project things that people were getting into. So I had a lot of people who wanted to learn how to make pasta. I had started putting videos up, and I was just like, it was sort of blowing up. It was a little bit before Reels. It was like on the cusp of Reels. So I started posting like little short video clips in my like feed. And that got a lot of attention. So yeah, definitely the pandemic was like a big offshoot for me. Um, I have since had many videos go viral. That always like gives a push of followers over time. So I'm at, I think, like 315,000 followers now. Um, but yeah, started with one. You got to start somewhere.
Brittany, do you want to take it?
Sure. Yeah. So I started my Instagram back in October 2019, when I was still working as a cancer researcher. And a bunch of people were asking me for my recipes. So I decided to just start an Instagram and have it as a hub for a way for my friends and family just to have my recipes all in one place. And I remember the first night that I made a post on Brittany Breaks Bread. The next day I woke up with 25 followers and I was like, "Oh, this is the bee's knees." Like I'm on it. And it kind of became addictive a little bit because back then I felt like you could make one or two posts and you could easily just gain like 50 to 100 followers off of that one post. Like Meryl said, things have since changed dramatically, because I think in October, call it by the end of the month, I may have had like 800. By the spring, I had close to like 5 or 6,000, and it was just so exciting. And that was just strictly off of just stories and photos. Um, this was right before the pandemic started. So a lot of people, when they reposted your content, especially big accounts like Feed and Food 52, BuzzFeed, a lot of the larger food media, publications, if they reposted your account, they have upwards of 1 to 5 million followers easily, and you could get an influx. I'm talking thousands of followers just off of one person, one account reposting. But during the pandemic, when the George Floyd event happened, a lot of people were amplifying Black bloggers, and so a ton of people gave me lots of shout outs, were willing to share their platform with me. And I got maybe 20,000 followers off of that in just like maybe a month or two tops. So since then, it's been a bit stagnant, or it was a bit stagnant for about maybe 2 years. And then last year, I finally went viral off of my Nutella beignets. Again, that 4-second video where I just pop open a beignet, completely neglecting all the hard work that I do on all of my longer videos that I'm like, oh, this one's gonna go viral. It was a 4-second video, and I got about 20,000 followers off of that one video. So that was really exciting. Before the video, I was at 32, or I think I was about at 30, and now I'm at 49,000. Um, and yeah, I think that there's ebbs and flows to Instagram, and I think you just have to be patient, find what works for you and what's going to really capture people's attention. So since then, I've been posting kind of quicker cut videos. Every once in a while, I'll post something a little bit longer, especially as of late, because I want to put more of myself in my content. A lot of my content is faceless, which is fine. But I want people to come for my recipes and know my face. So I'm kind of pivoting a little bit. I'm in a testing phase right now to see what really is going to resonate with my readers and what's going to attract more followers. But yeah, that's kind of I could ramble all day, but that's kind of my my periods of growth and how I started my account.
We will have to keep a close eye on time because we have a few more questions. For me, I started in 2016. So yes, I'm the veteran of the group, but I really wasn't dedicated towards it. And it really was a slow growth because I was working a full-time job. And then when I thought that would be a great period of growth for me was the pandemic, I actually I wasn't able to grow at that point because I wasn't spending as much time on it. I have my son that was born in 2020, September of 2020. And so I think it's important to remember that life happens. And even if great opportunities are there, if you're not able to catch it, you'll catch the next wave. And for me, the next wave was Reels. And in March of 2020, or 2022, I had a sequence of viral Reels that all went viral. Started with one where I saw it was really picking up. And when that happens to you, my recommendation is to really ride that wave and to continue posting, make it a priority to continue posting content like that, because the algorithm really showed up for me. There was a solid month where I had 1,000 new followers every single morning. I'd pick up my phone and look at it and be like, oh my gosh, this is wild. And I went from 10,000 followers to almost 40,000 followers, really, in the space of a month. And then it plateaued and there was no growth for almost a year. And then something hit again and it went wild again. And then, but never to that extent again. So it goes up and down. But yes, I'm now at 59.6 thousand followers and I keep on looking, be like, am I going to be at 60 soon? 60 soon? But the marker keeps on moving. My goal was always to publish a cookbook, and I thought you needed 50,000 followers to publish a cookbook. Now agents are looking for, and then it was 100,000 followers, and now agents want 500,000 followers to publish a cookbook. So it's the goalposts keep on moving. The most important thing is that you're never too late, and to just you haven't missed the Instagram bandwagon. Imagine if we'd stopped posting in 2016. So yeah. Let's go on to the next one. What's your content creation setup? Meryl?
Sorry, my microphone icon disappeared. Very minimal. I want people to know that you do not need to spend money on special equipment to make content for Instagram. Number one, I do not own any artificial lights. I do not own a DSLR camera. I do not own anything fancy. I just have a folding table that I prop up next to my window because I only shoot in natural light, which I think ultimately yields the best results. I have a few different backgrounds that I can lay down for various, I don't know, shoots. Some nicer plates for photography. I have like a tripod and my iPhone. That's literally it. Super simple. All of my photos for my newsletter and Instagram, and all of my videos are all through my phone, always have been. And I at first was pretty nervous about that, but now I think it's clear that it totally doesn't matter. So there really isn't, much barrier for entry. If you have a smartphone, you can make it happen.
Yeah, I actually use my phone more now than I ever have before. There was like a year where I thought that I had to film on my DSLR. But for my blog, because I have a blog, I do own a DSLR camera and I shoot exclusively with my camera for the photos on my blog. But for content on Instagram, it's just so much easier to use your phone. I have an artificial light, but I very seldom use it for reels. I like to use the natural light, and sometimes it's a bit of a time crunch. I have to get things done in the morning where the sun is shining through my window. But it's still way easier than using a camera. It's very rudimentary. I don't even always use my tripod. A lot of times I'm just holding the the camera and just, you know, stop and pause and, you
I
know,
prop mine up in a mortar and pestle.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes I'll like use a chair and I'll just
Yeah,
prop it up on the
stack
chair.
of books.
Yeah. And then if I need to crop in, I will.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you ladies on natural light. I actually took artificial lighting photography courses and then actually scratched it all because I realized that the photos that I liked the most were natural light. And so, yes, it is a time constraint, but I like how they look more than artificial light. And so, and often when I'm doing a large cooking class, you'll just see like an iPad that's propped up on a whole bunch of books and you make do. We don't have that fancy equipment that you think that you necessarily need. How do you stay consistent? Do you batch content?
If I'm
I
going, oh yeah, you go first because I'm the worst person to answer this question.
I very much batch content, and I try my best to get as much done because I have two little ones, as much done in between 10 and 3:30 as I possibly can. And then I kind of post process it after they go to sleep, editing and typing up, what I did and all the things like that. But I stay consistent just a lot of times it's my own personal motivation because I genuinely love posting recipes and engaging with my followers. So that's something that's always going to be a motivating factor for me. But batching is how I make sure that I can plan out my content calendar. It's a lot easier if you just have a bunch of things you do in one day, and then I can sleep the next day, and then the next day after that, um, you know, onward.
I batch content not for Instagram, but for Substack, which I know we're not talking about today, but I plan my recipes out three, a quarter at a time. And so I also plan around like the hours of like basically noon and 3. My recipes tend to be very involved because it's fresh pasta. So often I'll split things over the course of multiple days just to make sure I get the right natural light. In terms of consistency, actually on posting on Instagram, I am failing in that department. It is super important to be consistent, especially when you're starting out. I think at this point, my priorities have changed a little bit. I mostly use Instagram as a platform to direct people to other things that I'm doing. But I do know I would grow more if I were posting more. So don't do what I do because right now I'm posting maybe once a week.
Could I just quickly add in just one more thing here? It's very easy to stay consistent if you use a scheduler. And I do think we talked about this a couple slides back, but later is huge for me. Instagram also has a scheduler too that you can use. I've not heard the best feedback about it, but later is pretty reliable. And so if you at the top of the week can just plug your content into later and schedule out the date and time, it's something that you really don't have to think about too much, and it's really helpful for staying on top of things.
I
I
wish
should
I
do
could
that.
say that I schedule my content for myself. When it's my clients, yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. For myself, I've still always treated Le Chef's Wife as a passion project. And I think um, I think I have to continue to do that because it is my passion project. And so my content, my posting goes along with my mood, quite honestly. The thing that has helped me the most is during a recent flight to Las Vegas, I spent the entire 4 hours saving my food videos into one file. And that's actually the best thing I've ever done. I wish I would have done it years ago, because now anytime I think I need to post a reel, I go to that file of food videos and just take one clip and make a reel out of it. And it's really been a huge time saver and helped me be a little bit more organized instead of going through 1,000, 2,000, 100,000 photos. Valentina, can you please go back downstairs? My daughter is here and she wants to join me. Valentina, can you go back downstairs? I'll let you take the next one, Meryl.
How do you keep up with responses and questions? We were talking about this earlier. And this is not again, not something I would necessarily suggest when you're first starting out, but I limit comments on my posts, which is a sort of new-ish maybe feature from Instagram. That means that only people who follow me or that I follow can comment on my posts. Obviously, this limits engagement, but as someone with a thin skin, it also means that trolls cannot post random mean comments on my stuff. There are lots of other ways to monitor comments if that is something you have a problem with. I honestly have a very wonderful community on Instagram and it was never really a problem. But for me, I think if you are engaged enough to actually follow me, that's kind of like the people I want to be talking to on my comments. So all of that to say, I probably have fewer comments than I would if I didn't limit them. And so it's easy for me to keep up with them. I do respond to every comment and every DM, even if it's a lot.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's excellent. I actually struggle a bit with like responding always because sometimes you post and then, you have to put the kids to bed or, somebody calls you or you get a text message and my attention span is this big or this is this long. But I do my best. I also use mini chat, which a lot of times people, when they comment, they are looking for the recipe to whatever I've posted. And that's been a lifesaver for me because it's automated. And I just go into mini chat and tell them, what to say in response to a certain keyword. It'll say comment recipe for the link to the recipe. And it'll say, you can say, um, thank you. I hope you love the recipe, or I hope you enjoy it. The link is in your DMs. That's been a life changer for me because I don't have to go through every single comment and respond and say, oh, I'll send you the link and I'll have 1,000, DMs to send to people. So um, I would say I'm okay at responding to questions, responding to responses. For questions, those are more direct because I feel like a lot of times it can be troubleshooting. It can be where can I find the recipe, and that's a pretty simple and easy fix for the most part. So, um, yeah, that's my take on responses and questions.
So for me, it's really ad hoc. I wish I was more disciplined on it. Again, it's the remnants of me treating Le Chef's Wife as my passion project on the side. And I keep on intending to install either ManyChat, but now actually after Tastemakers Conference in Las Vegas, I will be installing Grocer's List, which is another chat that does the same thing, another app that does the same thing. It says comment the word potato underneath and you send the recipe immediately. And so you don't have to be involved in it, which I really appreciate because it could be that I get a request for a link or something like that as I'm doing something else and I open it and I read it and then I forget to go back to it. So, but I do try to maintain a relationship and keep up with people that are messaging me. How do you stay close to your community? I can take that one to start off is really continuing to engage with them and sharing and just taking the time to bring people in on what you're doing and being generous with what you share, I think is a big thing for me in my community as a way to stay close. And those Soup Sunday challenges are another way people know that they'll have this opportunity to cook live with me on Instagram with the Soup Sunday challenges.
I'd
Meryl
like to share. Oh,
or
sorry.
Brittany?
No, go ahead.
Got excited. I'd like to share a piece of myself in my stories. If Instagram was just stories, I would be the happiest camper ever because
Agreed.
stories is so much fun. I like to kind of reach out and touch, like, I do polls, I'll do questions, and just ask people how they're feeling. I think that's a very relatable person to person kind of thing to have, especially in a digital space. It feels personal. But also there's giveaways. I'll do those sometimes. I more so keep the giveaways for my email list, but giveaways are a fun way to stay in contact with your readers and yeah.
I agree with both of those. Stories are wonderful, and also I have found get the most engagement these days. I don't know if it's just me, but I get far more views on my stories than most of my reels right now. Stories, giveaways. I think because what I do in is try to build community through events. That's really the main way that I translate like Instagram community into real life community. So I do virtual pasta classes and I do in-person pasta classes and other events. And so that's really a way to like actually put a face to the name. And I try to be as accessible as possible. Again, responding to every comment. I get emails also all the time, just random pasta questions. I always respond to emails. So just trying to show that I am not some like woman in her high tower who has no time for you, because that's absolutely not true. Because what are we doing this for if not for you? So yeah, I try to be as responsive as possible and offer other ways for people to engage off of Instagram as well.
Okay, how much or how little do you share of your life on Instagram? And how do you deal with burnout? Meryl, that one's for you.
Well, we already touched on the fact that I don't show my face. So I would say little. Sometimes I post, like I took a big trip to Japan a few months ago, and definitely wouldn't be my usual stuff I would share, but I did consistently post stories. I do try to keep everything food focused, if not pasta focused. I don't really go off the rails in that respect. I also feel like I'm probably more of a stickler for privacy. I think once the account got to a certain size, there are just other like considerations. So I don't really show, or I don't really like offer a huge amount of personal information, but I try to like show that I'm a human being who like does other things, or shares like behind the scenes stuff. Um, I I honestly had struggled with burnout since the pandemic for many years, just like a slow and low burnout, which I will admit I'm only just kind of getting over. And I think I took a very long break from social media, 4 months, which I will say I lost 3,000 followers in that time. So just know that consistency really helps. And when you're not consistent, you will lose followers, but that's okay. Just to kind of step away and reevaluate and take a breath and not have to feel like I'm like on this hamster wheel all the time. And now I'm back feeling more inspired and excited to connect with the community. So it happens and it's okay. And you can take time and come back stronger, because Instagram will always be there and there will always be ways to like have another viral video or another whatever and get, back on it. So yeah.
How about you, Brittany?
I used to also share quite a bit more, but just the very nature of me having less time to share has I don't share as much as I used to. When it was just me and my husband, I was posting like everything. Hey guys, I brushed my teeth. Hey guys, I went to the nail salon. Hey guys, I'm at the mall right now. I just don't have time to do all those things anymore. And this is not because I don't want to, it's just the very nature of me getting older and, my priorities are different. But burnout, I think I've always been very, not always, but very often I do get very close to burnout. And when I feel myself approaching that precipice, I pivot and do something else. So if I'm burnt out from cooking too much or posting too much on my blog, I will take a break from that. And sometimes I also hire out for my blog writing because that's where a lot of time, most of the time goes in my on my day to day is actually trying to optimize blog posts. So I'll hire out for that so I can kind of refocus on what I enjoy most. And I feel like that can change at any given time. Sometimes I love to bake, sometimes I love to cook, sometimes I love to go on a walk and watch a movie before the kids get home. Like, so I just do something that nourishes me, so that I can get excited to get back into the kitchen and do, what I do actually love again.
So for me, I used to share a lot more of my life on Instagram. I share a lot less, which is wild because now that it's my full-time job-ish, I'm actually sharing less than when I had a full-time job and wanted to be able to share more. But I think it also is a result, yes, as the community grows bigger, you're a little bit more, you have to be aware of that there's a lot of people on there that don't know you and maybe you're not wishing you well. And so I don't post exactly where I am. So I stack up posts later. Like when I was in Las Vegas, I waited a few days before posting where I was. And I definitely didn't share where I was in terms of which hotel I was staying at. And I'm also much more cautious about sharing my children. But I still do share them because what I love about what we do is that we do it as a family. I cook with my kids, I cook with my husband. That's really, and I think what people connect to is that we cook together. And so I'm always trying to find that delicate balance. And burnout is real. I took time off at Christmas and couldn't believe it that, of course, a post went viral right before I said I was going to be off Instagram for 2 weeks. I had a post go viral and I was like, damn it. Well, now I have to post. And so I tried to keep up with it a little bit. But yes, you have to make sure to take time for yourself and lean into the things that you like doing, and hire out the things that you don't like doing. Things either cost you time or money. And so if you can hire out the things that you don't like doing, the moment you can, do it because it really makes you feel better. How do you stay close to trends and how do you discover what is trending? I can
Pass.
answer to start. I think because we spend a lot of time on Instagram, you are much more in tune. You know a lot more about Instagram than you realize because you spend a lot of time on Instagram. If you spend time, if you're looking at reels, if you're a consumer, you know more about what is trending. You've seen multiple versions of a similar video. So lean into that because you're more of an expert than you think if you spend time on Instagram. And we already spoke about trends with Pinterest. If there's anything else to add.
I would just say, as important as it is to think about trends and to think about how you can grow your platform, do not forget the people who already follow you. So sometimes, like, not every post needs to be trendy. Not every post has to have some grand plan behind it. I know certainly for me, because I started my account before Reels, there's that big group of people who just doesn't want a video. They just want some photos, pretty pictures of pasta or whatever. And so I'm going to give that to them, even though I know it's maybe not going to be my best performing post. So don't leave behind the people who like followed you for your content at its core, not just that one viral video.
And also, you can start your own trend too. You never know what can
Mhm.
go viral.
I do recommend, however, if you're not following Adam Mosseri, I think is his last name, he's the CEO of Instagram. And he, Brittany, you're like, who? Huh? I'm going to follow him.
Oops.
It's amazing. I know her very well. It's amazing because he's always sharing what they're up to. And he's really like, he's the face of Instagram. He's trying to create a new face and a new identity for Instagram that's not Mark Zuckerberg. And so Adam Mosseri, if someone can find his profile and tag it in the chat, that would be great, because he is constantly updating on what the new rollouts are. And if Instagram is rolling out something new, it's a good idea to be one of the first early adapters. Being an early adapter is a very important thing on social media. Thank you. Yes. How do you evaluate if your strategies are working? Insights?
Yeah, I go to
Go
Insights
viral?
and sometimes well, you can click on the view insights of each of any given post, and it'll tell you how many followers you got from the post, what the reach was, um and how many likes it got, how many people who like the content were actually your followers versus non-followers. So naturally, whatever got the most engagement is what I will am more, prone to continuing.
Yeah, for me, honestly, I know this is very specific, but a lot of my content directs to my recipes on Substack, so I can tell when I'm getting a bunch of new subscribers whether that content is doing what it's supposed to be doing.
I think similar to me, looking at insights and seeing how well they're performing, and if the content that, like, if I'm doing still those very short videos that were so popular a year ago and they're not taking off anymore, well, time to pivot and do something different. What are some examples of successful campaign strategies you have implemented on social? I think we've touched on this, but if there's anything else you want to add to that.
During the pandemic, I did a pasta hotline. So I did it in my stories and I had people write in questions that I would then answer, and I got hundreds. And I did it like once a week, that then went to once a month because it was a little much. And then I saved it as a highlight on my profile. So that was really popular.
Do you still do it?
I don't, because I wrote a book where all the answers are in the book. But the
And now
hotline is
people can
still
find it.
there. I do, yeah, I should maybe reinstate that. But it was fun at the time for sure.
How about you, Brittany?
Let's see. I don't know that I have anything to add here, to be fully honest. Um, Mine is always kind of, seeing what sticks. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I won't say there's no rhyme or reason, but sometimes I just post what I like and pray that it works, to be quite honest.
And are you also like looking at your phone every 2 seconds, like right after you post it? Or do you put your phone away and like, don't look at it?
Crazy part is, I think last year a lot of people posted things and didn't end up going viral until like maybe a month or two after, and that's
Yes, that happens all the time.
yeah. And
Yep.
so I have a post right now that I posted back in, I want to say August, that's going viral, and then I have another post that I posted in June, and now that's going viral as well. So, you know,
Yeah, so don't judge how your post does like
yeah.
based on the first couple of hours. Definitely not. Like, yeah, all of my viral content, it's taken a few days to like get in the cycle.
I generally know if mine's going to take off because I'll see that it goes very quickly up. At least that's been my experience. And then there are definitely the slow burn viral posts, but it's generally in the first half hour that I have a sense if it's going to do well or not. And so last but not least, before we go to questions, what tips do you recommend for someone who is just starting out now? They have 0 followers. They're opening up Instagram for the first time to create a new food and beverage account. Food or beverage or food and beverage.
Create content that you enjoy. Like, regardless of whether you think it will do well, just make sure that you are ultimately focusing on something that you actually like doing. Because if you're just doing it to chase numbers, odds are that might reflect in the content, and then ultimately you might drive you burnout. So just, balance like the desire to grow with like the type of stuff you actually want to be doing.
I couldn't agree more. That would be my exact recommendation.
I would also add to that, narrow it down, be very specific about what you do. And I think Meryl, you really hit the nail on the head with that, because you're doing pasta. You're doing pasta.
Yeah, everyone knows what they get when they come to me.
Whereas I really went the long meandering route because I was like, French lifestyle while living in North America. Like, what does that mean? And it's really a mastermind that helped me narrow it down to, I am a food blogger. I am a chef's wife. I live with a professional chef. I've learned how to cook from him. And these are the tips that I use to interpret his fancy French cooking into a way that you can do at home. And that took me a long time to get there. So if I were to start today, I would really just focus on one thing. Maybe I'm the soup lady, and then I'll do nothing but soups. And you'll know that every single time you come to my feed, there'll be amazing soups, not everything that Anina Bell Jenny is doing in her life. So I think focus is really helpful. But yes, we are in it for the long game. So if you're going to post about one thing, it better be something that you love, because you're going to post a lot about it.
For sure.
So questions for us. Thank you so much. And I love this chat. I'm sorry, I do not know how to move my head. I've been trying to like move my head around in the presentation, so I'm like not covering the text. I apologize. We will send you the presentation so you can see all the questions. I love this share train that's going on. This used to be very popular in Instagram. It's not so much anymore. But yes, please follow everyone that's in the chat, and feel free to follow me as well. I can speak for myself, and I'll be happy to follow back. And I really want us all to be incredibly successful at what we do, and for people to know what we do and that our voices are heard. So let's see some questions. Please pop questions that you have in the chat. One of them was, how do you get used to being on camera? Get over yourself. It's the number one thing.
Or don't.
Or don't.
Just kidding.
But you were successful beforehand. You had your 100,000 followers beforehand. I think now, like, people, they react well, even if I have my hair up in a messy bun. And my kids are running around the kitchen, and they actually react well to that authenticity. So,
I think also, like, your accounts are about you, right? It's about your recipes, you know, your perspective. I always conceptualize my account as about them and not about me. It's like about the community, not to say yours isn't, but like it's also like your personality is what makes it. Whereas mine is like more of a, I don't know. I just conceived of it differently. But I, like I said earlier, I know that if I put my face on more things, I might do better, but alas.
I have a question for you all, given one of the questions here. If you were to start again today, would you use your first name or just your name as your Instagram handle, or would you still have your like name handle?
Oh, totally handle. Would change nothing.
Yeah.
In here. Well, my name is in my handle, but you know, I wouldn't change a thing.
I tag my personal account in my bio, like we were saying, it's like who you are, to show that there is a human being behind it. And if you know, you can click to my personal account and see like me from like 10 years ago at this point. So they know that it's not just like a faceless corporation, basically.
I honestly am on the fence. I still go on the fence. Le Chef's Wife came to me as a flash of inspiration. Did I know that it would alienate some people because it doesn't sound like a very progressive name, Le Chef's Wife? And though I'm a staunch feminist, it's wild. I think sometimes yes, and maybe I should have had my name. I don't know. In any event, it is what it is. It's me, and I embrace it fully, and it's what I want to share on Instagram. So
I want, in the same vein, somebody asked, how did you come up with your name?
yeah.
I used a name generator. So yeah, no shame, but I don't know about you guys.
I was sitting on the couch and it literally popped in my head. In fact, BBB, it was my grandfather's initials, and somehow Brittany Breaks Bread popped into my head. I say it's him talking to me. And I just went with it.
That's
And
awesome.
the question, biz versus personal Instagram account, definitely biz, so you can get the insights. You want, if you're going to treat it like a business, and what we're talking about here is treating your Instagram like a business. If you
You
want
can do creator as well versus a business. So you should do a creator because business accounts are limited in terms of music that you can use and other things. So go creator, not business.
Thank you. Thank you, Meryl, for that.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that is a major hurdle to get over, is realizing if you're going to do it to win it. Do it with intention versus kind of, is it personal? Is it, and that's where I fell victim. I was very much in that space. It's a personal account, but yet I want it to grow. So my messaging wasn't clear. Know your messaging. It's basic marketing.
There's a lot of questions about like paid partnerships and stuff. I think just in that vein, like even if you're starting as a creator account or whatever, at the beginning, be okay with sharing things for free. The nature of my Instagram account is completely different now than when I first started. When I first started, all of my knowledge, please take it. And it built trust and it built engagement. I think at a certain point in my career, when I became a more established recipe developer, and once my cookbook came out, I was like, okay, this is my job. I want to get paid for my job. So I started my Substack and sort of started paywalling my new recipes, and free recipes were done in partnership with other people. So that can come later, but just share your knowledge at the beginning. I think that's important. There's no reason why someone would pay for your recipe if they don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm. And if you want brands to work with you, like one of my best paid partnerships was a long-term contract where I was publishing a recipe with them on Instagram every single month for like 18 months. It was amazing. And it came because I was tagging their products in the cooking videos that I was making because I actually bought their products. So tag every single brand that you can that makes sense, right? People don't like spam tags in the same way they don't like spam collaborations. I always get like, oh my gosh, someone asked me to collaborate and I don't know them and I don't know what that is. Yes, if it makes sense, if you're actually using their product, tag it.
Also sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you do consider working with brands, make sure that it feels right.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're new, even when it's money, even when it's exciting, if it doesn't feel like A, a product that you like, B, a product that you'd use, C, a product that your audience would like or use, don't do it. It's not worth it. It is, like I said, it's all about building trust. I have had to refund a company money because a product wasn't up to my standards. Not to say I'm super picky, the product was not good. But I would just didn't, it was my reputation being staked on promoting this product that I just didn't believe in. And I think as hard as it was to walk away from something like that, your followers will know when you start to kind of promote this and that doesn't quite jive with you and the type of content that you create.
Agreed. I think it's very important for the product to be aligned with your, with your brand. Like if you're pushing, I don't know, bed sheets, but you are a bakery, it's kind of weird, It kind of
Right.
gets, it goes down, and then it kind of seems like you're peddling products for likes and
And people will see right through that.
see like you're like for sure.
There was a question here. How do you measure followers versus dollars spent if that's your goal? I think that's a good analysis if you're doing digital marketing. Most of, I think, all our growth was organic. And so there isn't that spend, that return on investment. There's a return on investment calculation that could be in time because we've spent eons, hundreds of thousands of hours on this, but you're not actually calculating that. So I don't think there's that direct cause and effect that you would see if you were doing digital marketing. You can actually evaluate the success of a campaign.
Yeah, I actually do that more so with my blog than I do with Instagram. And I'm not in the sense that I'm buying ads or having an ad agency come and push my product or anything like that. There's no digital marketing, but it's more so, am I breaking even on the things that I'm spending money on, or am I making a profit, if that makes any sense?
I'll take this question here. Would you hire a digital marketing team or do it yourself? Because I am a digital marketing team. I have a PR marketing company in addition to having my own brand. A digital marketing team is great once you have a solid version of who you are, what you can do. You've already built a platform and you're already maximized in how you can grow it. I think that you have to be ready to take on a digital marketing team, because we'll come in and we'll be like, okay, let's do a photo shoot and let's put this campaign together and here we go. And it's very easy to, if you don't have a strong sense of who you are and who you're talking to, I don't think you're ready for it yet. So you'll know when it's time to hire out, because then the cost equation comes into play, and you actually, by buying back your own time, could earn more money. And that's where it becomes a valuable investment, not before.
Also, if you are extremely neurotic, like I am, and you cannot delegate work, that's okay too. Yeah, I'm sure it would be super helpful for me to do that. But I can't let go.
Not everybody can. Honestly, Instagram is so personal. When you're speaking, it's from your own voice. And so, yeah, it's a difficult thing.
I mean, I'm so superstitious because I remember when I started on Instagram, there were rumors that like if you had any third-party apps connected to Instagram, it was just like ruining your engagement, which is obviously a lie. So I won't even like, if I'm not pressing post, I'm not doing it. I'm really weird about it. But there are so many more tools that you can use to streamline the whole thing now. Somebody asked about Substack. I think that please email me. We can have a long chat about that. I would say Instagram is a great tool that's lower commitment and has the potential to grow faster than Substack at this point. If you're already an established writer and you like to write, then that's a great way to bring your existing community over to a new platform. For better or worse, Substack has become well saturated. There are a lot of famous food writers on it now, a lot of just everyone has a Substack. So if you're looking to break into a platform, I think Instagram is easier than Substack. From my perspective, I think if I didn't already have my Pasta Social Club Instagram account be so successful, I would not have started or been able to start Substack in the same way.
I think there's a caveat to mention here is if you have a blog already, it's
right.
To invest in your blog, monetize your blog. And that's a whole other conversation that
Right.
and I would be happy to speak for hours about. You don't need a Substack if you have a blog, because they're actually counterproductive. Substack is monetizing an email list through the Substack app, whereas a blog is monetizing advertising clicks on your blog.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're both ways to make money in a way that Instagram is not. So I would definitely recommend having one or the other so that you're not building your beautiful house on rented land.
Yeah, absolutely. As I would say, is just my one quick takeaway is that Instagram is a tool and it feeds your end goal. I would make sure that you never make it your one-stop shop. Always make sure that you either are collecting emails or, pushing your business on here. It shouldn't just be a number that you're trying to get to. You want to make sure that all of these people that you're getting to your page are coming to you for a reason, and you're funneling it to help you either translate that into purchases, views on your website or your Substack. Just always make sure that there's an end goal and that Instagram is not your one-stop shop.
Absolutely. Yep.
Are there any remaining questions for us? We have 7 minutes before we said we call time. So we have time for a couple more questions. And I don't know if we've gotten all of them that we're in the, oh, Carrie, you asked the question, how do we use highlights and what is the value of them? I think highlights, I need to remove 90% of my highlights because no one needs to see what my house looked like when I moved into it 5 years ago, really. I think highlights were big. They're not as big anymore. What I would use them for today is because I have a baking baguettes for beginners course, I would have a highlight that says baguettes. I would have another highlight that says soup Sunday, and really keep it as simple as that so that it's driving towards products that you have, or something very specific that will help people engage with you. But I have to remove the photos from 5 years ago that are in highlights. So thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, I used mine for the pasta hotline, like I said. So if people have like frequently asked questions about pasta, they can go to the highlight and odds are I've already answered it. However, I'll still answer it again in my DMs. But it is a good, resource in case somebody has a bunch of questions.
Any other questions? Great. I think we're good. If you have any further questions, you know how to reach us. I'm at Le Chef's Wife. Brittany is Brit Breaks Bread. Wait, no, wait, you're Brittany Breaks Bread. Say your handles, please, ladies.
I'm just typing it into the chat.
Yeah.
That's actually probably
Yeah.
much more efficient way to go.
Can I just thank you all? This was amazing. The wealth of knowledge you all shared was just fantastic. And I know you can see in the chat all the wonderful comments. So please, I'm going to leave this on for a little bit so you all can go into the chat. Lots of people are sharing their handles. So follow all these wonderful people, follow each other. I noticed through the chat, there's lots of DOMs on here from other chapters. So thank you for joining us from Birmingham and Nashville and Atlanta. So that was pretty cool
Are
to
there any
see.
British Columbia dams? Are there any Les Dames BC? Because I want to see my hometown dams. Are they there? No.
No, but it's very cool. So thank you to you all and Nina Bell for putting this together. And again, we will be in touch with all of you. The recording will be edited and shared with everyone who signed up. So stay tuned for that. But we won't close this down. We'll leave it open for a few minutes so you can copy all the handles.
Okay, well, thank you so much for attending, and we hope that you got something out of it. And yes, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on Instagram and keep us informed on your progress.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.